experience, do the innocent people just run?
Never.
Yeah, that's weird, that, yeah.
Yeah. Now, Mike Brown turns up and he's allowed to adulterate the crime scene. He is then seen taking certain objects. Now, right? And the police give him some duties to carry out, which is absolutely massively 100% against protocol. This inquiry goes through five senior investigating officers, right? And so this guy, who's seen as the best in the world, Detective Superintendent Kevin Macy, has totally and utterly effed up. Now, the question is this done on purpose? And this is something no one's spoken about, and we're going to cover it tonight, right? But there's more to add into the mix. The cadaver, the body, is taken to the local hospital, right? Now it's cold. It's been in the cold water, right? Now, the strange thing is with cold water and water deaths is that sometimes the body can go into stasis of up to an hour. So the protocol is that the body has to be warmed back to body temperature. Okay. And that can take a bit of time. And in that period of time, they have to take the temperature of the body. Now, they do that with a rectal thermometer, which is designed to go into the rectum, right? So it's small and it's inintrusive. It's not an issue, right? It's a small thermometer. It's not, so this has to be taken over a period of minutes to check the temperatures. On the whole, it's taken 14 times, right? Until the body goes back to body temperature. At that point, they can pronounce life extinct, right? Okay. Now it's like PLE, pronounced life extinct. All right. And everyone is allowed to just leave. So the next day, a pathologist is called because an autopsy needs doing. So they call in a guy called Michael Heath. Right. So we've got the
I recognize that name, Michael Heath.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we got the top police officer, 47 years, the best in the business, sausage finger knights him and everything else. Right. And he hasn't done his job and he's screwed up massively, right? Monumentally, he's not secured a crime scene, he's not arrested anyone, and he's left exhibits to be adulterated, right? On what is a suspicious death. Even a PCSO wouldn't be so stupid to do that. Yet this guy, best in the business, has done this.
How close to the end of his career was he?
I think he only no, he was still in full throat. He was, I think he wasn't far from officially retiring, but bear in mind, this guy goes on to do 27 years more than he has to. Oh, no, sorry, 17 years more than he has to.
Okay, so it's not like the dying twilight years of a blumbering.
No, not at all. No. He's in full thing. Bear in mind, he ends up dealing with 52 murder inquiries, and so there's no excuse for this guy. Barrymore's not remained on scene. He's run off with his boyfriend, gathered some items together, right? They've done a runner, right? And Barrymore ends up in this clinic the next day with an injury to his manhood, right?
Sure. Mr. Balding, we'll come back to your question. I'll start all the questions for when we're done.
Now, he should have stayed. He claims he didn't know what happened. He claims he was unaware of any foul practice at all. But he's acting like someone who's in a world of trouble, right? Okay. And he calls his PA, and his PA comes and starts removing items that are significant exhibits to a murder. Right now, this is where it gets interesting. Michael Heath turns up.
Okay.
This is probably the most notorious pathologist in the country, right? He has been under the spotlight of the GMC, the General Medical Council, more than any other medical practitioner in history. If you've got anyone who is incompetent and a cover-up merchant in the world of pathology, Michael Heath is your guy. Now, he has dealt with the Moores victims from the Moores murders. He's dealt with Stephen Cameron, Kenny Noyes victim. He's dealt with Stephen Lawrence. He's dealt with, you name it, this guy's dealt with it. Now, in his dysfunctional career, he has had two men wrongly convicted of murder for 2 separate jobs when he said they're fair play when it wasn't. So 2 guys ended up getting acquitted and everything else after reviews in the cases, because he claimed that the victims have been murdered when it was natural causes. So 2 innocent people, 2 separate cases, went away and served time for life for murder, right? Okay, so he's done that. He also was involved in a controversy where in 2006, where he autopsied the wrong body and then sent it for cremation, and the family got the ashes back, and he did his autopsy report. How they found out it was the wrong body was that in the report they said he put down that the gallbladder was heavier than it should have been. And they said, well, hang on, our mum, because it was an old woman, she had her gallbladder removed 5 years ago. So he'd autopsied totally the wrong person, right? Jesus. You know, I mean, this guy is atrocious. In the end, he is told, right, by the GMC, you've got to stand down. And he actually, I've heard about this guy because there's a case I would like us to cover. And there's a lady called Iffy, and her father died in incredibly suspicious circumstances, even worse than this. And the pathologist who covered it all up was no other than Michael Heath. So this guy, it's as if this was a conspiracy.
Dude, this is club alarm bells all over it. Okay, can I just say at this point, I'm gripped. I know you're all gripped. Can you please share this stream? Please like it. I know a lot of you are watching on your tellies, and you've had a week now to figure out how to like and share off your TV. So if you can't do it, just stop watching on your TV. That would be my suggestion, if I'm being honest. So please like and share. It really, really helps us out. I know you hear me say it and you don't do it. Can we please do it? It's free. Share, like, it means the world. So, John.
Right. So, anyway, Heath gets hold of the body and he does his autopsy, and he says, well, there's water in the lungs. This is drowning. Right? That's what he says. Okay. What he fails to say, but he does allude to it. So bear in mind, there's 5 senior investigating officers from murder teams have dealt with this case, have taken it. Subsequently, one has been taking it off of the other because of malpractice. The last SIO, senior investigating detective, turned around and said, "This is rape. This is murder." Right? No 2 ways about it. This should have been sealed off as a crime scene. Everyone should have been arrested, as we've mentioned in the past. I don't know what's going on. So he's criticising Kevin Macy, who is seen as the best of the best, right? So, and anyway, so pathologists, we end up having 4 pathologists on this case. So not just a second post.
Hang on a second, John. We've lost your audio. Someone's calling John right now. Hang on. We still can't hear you, John. You might have to go in and out again, John, since someone phoned you. There we go. There we go. We got you. Yeah, you're back.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. You're back, mate.
Yeah, someone's right. I'll just had to, anyway. So Michael Heath said, right, so this guy has died from drowning, right?
Okay.
But his injuries are that his anus has the aperture of an orange. His injuries to his anal tract in his rectum are so severe that alone would have caused his death.
An orange, like not like an easy peeler, like
an eating orange. The aperture of his anus is that size, conducive with a fist-shaped object being forcefully rammed into it. Right, that alone would have caused a cardiac arrest and extreme pain. Right, the tearing is horrific. There's tearings all up his colon, in his bowel. It's just, and there is blood everywhere. A towel was wrapped around him, and his pants were found coated in blood. But new pants were put on him prior to the paramedics turning up.
Just to warn everyone, trigger warning.
Just imagine I said,
imagine I said that 2 minutes ago. Carry on.
They never took bacterial samples from the pool. The pool's a crime scene, by the way, so they should have taken samples of water and tested to see if anyone had been in there.
But surely when they arrived, all of this would have been laying about and visible, right? Or was this all taken away? Because it seems to me if you've got blood,
the scene had been adulterated. Now, what happens then is that on the forensic photographs, there's two items that are seen poolside, right? Bear in mind, it's the end of March, right? The pool hadn't been heated up, and it got heated during the night, so it's freezing cold. So no one would have gone swimming in it anyway. Let's get that right. No one would have got, but the body was put in there, right? All the witnesses give different accounts as to the position of the body. Barrymore says the body is laying down, staring at him. Barrymore wouldn't go in and get the body out because he said he couldn't swim. When 10 witnesses were called who said, yeah, we know Barrymore swims, and there's photos produced of him swimming. So he's lying through his teeth, and he's done a runner, right? Other victims have said the body was on its side. Some said it was on its back, some on its front. It's a total mess, right? Everyone is lying, right? And his clothing had been changed. The towel had been taken away from him, which was coated in blood. His original pants had been taken off, which were coated in blood, and these other ones were put on, and they'd been washed in the swimming pool, right? So this goes down as drowning, right? So it ends up in the hands. The father, Terry Lubbock, the father of Stuart, he's absolutely distraught, and the police are just lying and fobbing him off with nonsense. He's not accepting a bit of it. So it ends up going to a second pathologist. So it goes to a second opinion, and the doctor, because it's just a footnote, Dr. Michael Heath's thing about the anal injuries. A new pathologist gets it, and he's like, what? And that subsequent 3 other pathologists all say the same. These injuries are the primary cause of death. They are absolutely horrific. This is non-consensual, and this is a violent assault.
Wow.
A very, very violent assault, which would, without a doubt, be the major factor for this young man dying. Not the water in the lungs, but the other thing is there's petechiae, which are these small dots that occur when someone is strangled, right? Or they are suffocated, right? This guy's got them all over his face. So it indicates he's been suffocated. He's got these horrific injuries. Now, Barrymore, what does he do? He goes and hires Michael Mansfield. Now, we discussed Michael Mansfield many times on this show, and I class this man as an abhorrent individual. He's seen as a #1 barrister, QC, KC, whatever he might be. I don't like the guy because what he does, if he can't attack the information, he attacks the source of the information, right? Which has got nothing to do with the price of fish, but he does it in order to win. So he comes up with a theory. This is what, you see, coppers take an oath to act without fear or favour. Now, some coppers are corrupt and they don't do that, but on the whole, coppers do, and they're accountable by the law, and they are accountable to the courts. Barristers sell their soul to whoever pays the most money, right? And as long as their client doesn't deliberately lie to their face and that calls them to get perjury in the box, which is called being professionally embarrassed, as long as their client doesn't deliberately lie to him, say, yeah, I did it, he might say, I don't think I did it. Well, that's good enough. They can run with that. Now there's a young man that has died in the most horrific of circumstances. So Michael Mansfield decides that he wants to coerce the jury using his skills of advocacy, the art of arguing the toss over nothing, to bully the jury into accepting that poor Stuart Lubbock slipped and bashed his little bottom on the steps, causing them injuries.
No, stop it.
This is what this guy Mansfield does. So he sits there and he turns around and they see him as this glorified guy who's helped survivors of abuse, and he's also gone out with the Diana inquiry. He goes wherever he's paid the most, right? You know, he's like a cat. Whoever feeds him gets the loyalty. You know, I don't like him, and I've never liked him. I think he's a snake, and I think, you know, we was
You're serious? He went into the court and said he slipped and hit his bum on the corner of a step.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right now, so Barrymore then has got the best QC in the country, right? The police, the last detective to take this on, has said that we think there's been corruption and someone has coerced the other detectives. So Mr. Kevin Macy, who's friends with Mr. Sausage Fingers, the best detective in the world, allegedly, who doesn't do one bit of his job to any professional standard, right? He's the first responder. He totally screws it up. Crucial. Now, anyone who knows anything about murder investigations, there's one thing. It's called the golden hour. You have 1 hour to basically do 90% of the work, right? Now, on the forensic photographs, there is this thermometer, right? And there's a handle that's been taken off a door, right? Both of them are large spherical fist-shaped objects. Now, the thermometer is incredibly phallic with 4 sharp edges. Now, when one of the decent pathologists sees it in the photo, says that alone would cause them injuries. But Mr. Michael Brown, allegedly, who is Barrymore's PA, may or may not have removed them items because the police let him go round there and take things away from the crime scene. So when they did seal it off properly, them items had been removed, and the only one that was able to do that was this guy, his PA, right? So and this door handle as well. Okay, now Terry Lubbock, the father, he dies in 2021, and it was a shame. I was due to meet him, but because of the lockdown, I couldn't. And I was in touch with him all through the lockdown. And he campaigned, and he was up against it all the time. Barrymore does a Kate McCann, goes on every chat show to try and gain back some sort of status. Barrymore ends up on Come Dine With Me, right? And I'm telling you, if anyone wants to know what DID looks like, altered states of consciousness and multiple personalities, watch that. This man definitely has 2 personalities. He goes from this over-the-top jokey to this incredibly serious individual on that series. On that, when he goes around Pat Sharp's house, he's mucking around, and when he goes on that Jenny girl, she's actually married to a copper that I used to work with.
That Jenny girl here.
Yeah.
She gives me mad vibes, man. Like, I'm telling you, I don't know if she's a reincarnation of like an evil deity or something. She gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, she's married to one of my old colleagues. Well, Jenny Powell, that's her name. But when they go around his house or his friend's house, he starts talking in a totally different accent. It's really, really weird. And when I watched it, I thought, this guy has got split personalities, right?
Okay.
Now, they did a program on him. Now, this is where we're going to start delving into him. When he's being interviewed, he's lying. So this young boy, Stuart Lubbock, was a victim of a severe S assault and probably the R word, right? He's not homosexual at all, but there was huge amounts of ecstasy, cocaine, and alcohol in his system, right? And witnesses said they saw Barrymore rubbing the Charles onto Stuart's gum, right? Forcibly putting it into him, right? Now, there was a program called The House That Made Me, and they travelled back to Barrymore's childhood home, which was flat on a low-rise 1950s style block tenements in the heart of the East End. Now, he then starts talking about his childhood, and his dad was an incredibly abusive, domestically abusive and violent man, would batter his mum in front of him and all that. And you can see it's had a huge traumatic effect on Barrymore. I think this is the source of his homosexuality, because of the fact that the male influence was an incredibly negative one, and he got the comfort and joy from the feminine, right? And I can sort of see that. His friends say that they knew he was gay. So he claims he came out in 1992, which is nonsense. His school friends said they knew he was openly gay. I think this marriage to Cheryl, his wife, was one of convenience because she could see that there was money to be made in this guy. And she ended up divorcing anyway. But I think I would say it was probably a sexless marriage. One of the solicitors that took out private prosecution against him for this turned around and said that there was evidence that Barrymore would get his driver to trawl around the streets picking up young rent boys. Now, if that's the case, he's predatory. He's predatory, right? And he's got this propensity not to be a nice guy, right? When he does the interview with Piers Morgan, he turns around and says, I did not kill Stuart Lubbock. Now, I believe him because I don't think he did. Now, I'm going to bring something into the mix here, right? Now, this may or may not be true. This may be source information, but I'm going to share it. It's my theory, because this is crime theory, that his aggressive, cross-dressing, violent, possessive boyfriend, Jonathan Kenny, came back. I think that Barrymore drugged and anally hard Stuart Lubbock. And I think that Kenny either found out or caught them doing it. I think that resulted in an injury to Barrymore's winkle, resulting in him having to go to this Springfield clinic. And I think then that Kenny, this is my theory, or someone with Kenny in this rage of vengeance may or may not have caused injuries that were life-threatening and horrific to Stuart Lubbock. So when he says, I never killed him, he's telling the truth, but I think he knows who did it. And I think that this guy, out of absolute spite, probably said, so you want to have anal or whatever, I'm going to give it to you. And he has then forcibly rammed whatever he could. Source information says screams were heard and that a R had occurred in there. Screams were heard. They were muffled with a pillow, which would account for their petechiae and the suffocation. That resulted in a huge loss of blood that came out of this guy, and that resulted in a panic situation. Now, Barrymore then has to do damage limit.